Well, almost a decade ago, I did a series of interviews around meals with friends, and I've decided to bring that back in this new series called Dinner With. And my first guest is none other than Kobe, my roommate. How's it going?
Pretty good. It's quite a warm day,
Yes.
I will say.
You wore a long sleeve. You did not know this was going to be outside.
No.
Okay, well, we will work on that in the future. What are we eating today?
Thai food.
Okay. And so this food delivered by Grubhub, who's sponsoring the show. Why did you choose Thai food?
Because it's my favorite type of food. Okay. I got Penang curry, which is what I judge most Thai food places by.
I'm eating pad Thai, which is just a safe option that I like. When did you start playing video games?
Actually, it was second or third year. Well, no, I started playing like Pokemon. I played the first Pokemon.
On Game Point.
I had blue. I think my brother had red, or it was the other way around. We got each one.
The doctor?
That's the first. Yeah, he's a doctor now.
Yeah.
Try hard.
Yes.
Yeah, Pokemon. I think that's probably the first like real investment into video games. Like, I had a neighbor who had a Sega Genesis, but my family never had a.
It's not like you were growing up with like a
video game system.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had like played Sonic or something at my friend's house, but it really started to gain weight with me in like my second year of high school, because at the bus stop where I took the bus home from school from Berkeley High, there was a game store there. And so you had to wait anywhere from like 5 to 20 minutes sometimes. And so I go inside the game store while I'm waiting for the bus. And not only do they have a bunch of D&D stuff and board games and card games, it was like back when physical stores were very elaborate, and it's this really like hardcore gamer store. They also had set up 2 computers that were just free to play, and the game that was on there the first time that I went for this setup, I was like, oh my god, I could just get on this computer and play games for free, because my family didn't have personal computer or video game systems or anything like that. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I could just walk in here and play. And it was the original Diablo.
Did you ever have the tension with your parents where they're like, you're spending too much time on the computer?
Yeah. Me and my brother had to share time.
Okay.
And so we'd make deals with each other.
Oh, really? Okay.
For computer time. And I would like sneak, the computer was in the basement. I would sneak out like in the middle of the night downstairs
to
go use the computer.
Okay.
In the middle of the night, and farm Mephisto and get items and stuff basically. But yeah, while I was at home, the only computer game that was really that and Warcraft 3 were the only computer games that we played. And then WoW came out when I went to college, and then out of Warcraft 3 obviously came like Aeon of Strife and Dota, which led into MOBAs.
Okay. So
and that's how we arrive at the present.
There's a pretty big skip there.
From the first introduction to MOBAs
to
League of Legends comes out. Actually, what's funny is when League of Legends first came out, all my Dota friends, we tried it and we're like, this is stupid cartoon kid stuff, and we quit and we went back to Dota for like a month or something. But then eventually, and League was still in beta. Eventually, we changed our minds and went right back to League.
When did you know that you wanted to do competitive video game stuff? Because I think a lot of people...
When I got a real job, and it was terrible.
Well, no, but that's when you decided you wanted to cast. But you don't even know this. A lot of people, including Kobe, don't realize that he used to be a competitive player in League of Legends esports.
That just happens so naturally.
Yeah.
Because since we were playing League of Legends from the beta, from the very beginning, I naturally jumped to the top of the ladder. And so like joining CLG, starting CLG with Hotshot, Chowster, GG, Elements, that was just so natural, because it was just like the people at the top of the ladder were like, hey, you want to make a team? And I was like, of course I do, because there are online tournaments where you could win stuff. And, I had nothing. So at that time, literally winning, a mouse or a keyboard or as much as a meme as it is, mouse pads. I remember winning. We won like 6 laptop coolers.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I don't even have a laptop. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all these things. I tried to like sell them, I think, and maybe sold a couple of them.
Well, because people don't realize that was like a thing. Like when about probably 1 year after you were doing all this, and Doublelift was living with me, he would win tournaments and just get like a processor.
Yeah, no,
it's just like you just get components.
I use my computer. All my upgrades were out of stuff that we won. That was the other thing. I want to because the Intel had a bunch of series. He probably got it off Intel or one of those things. But there were so many of these little online tournaments, and I was like, yeah, of course, I want to make a team with some of the best people, so we can just win some free stuff. That's what it was. That's mostly what it's about. Like, yeah, we're super competitive video game players, so it's just fun to compete. And then you get to win stuff on top. When the World Championship was announced, that's when I started to get super hyped because I also really wanted to travel.
Yeah.
From a super young age, but I hadn't been able to travel at all. And when they announced, it was going to be, what was it? It was DreamHack.
Yeah, DreamHack in Jönköping, Sweden.
Yeah, it was DreamHack that year, and the championship was going to be there. That I was super excited for that, and so then we did all the qualifiers, and we won WCG. And the main cool thing about that was like meeting everybody in real life for the first time, and seeing their reactions to what people actually are like, and then of course looking to travel to Sweden, which they kicked me off the team right before World Finals or Worlds, I guess. I don't remember what we called it in season 1. I think it was still called
World Championships.
I think it was still called that, but I got benched right before that because I had graduated, and so I had no time for scrimming, and I messed up a Jungle Alistar game.
Okay.
And Chowster got really picky and picked St. Vicious over me, but they still brought me to Sweden for DreamHack, and so I still got to play in like Pros vs. Riders game and meet everybody. And
do you think you guys would have won the championship if you had been playing instead of Saint? So North America would actually have a trophy.
Yeah. I mean, we have gold medals from WCG.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, League was such a new game then. We were the small game. So we were just like some sideshow compared to the big event of the World Cyber Games was supposed to be. They modeled themselves, and even their icon after Olympics, they wanted to be like the Olympics of video games. And so they had all these different games. I think there was even like a phone game that was bigger than our like stage for League.
Yeah.
But that still, the day that we won is still stuck in my mind as one of my happiest favorite days of all time because we win. Like, I'm so nervous the whole time, I'm like shaking. And then we end up winning, and right after, we get these giant cartoon checks, and everyone's clapping and cheering, and there's like cameras and stuff. They interview us, and then immediately after we get the big checks, they take us upstairs to this like rooftop bar, and I don't know, we're so young at that point, and we meet like Brandon Beck and Mark Merrill, the owners and founders of Riot. And they're super excited to meet us and treating us like, oh my God, you're superstars or whatever. And I just remember like walking up through that rooftop bar party, just wide-eyed and having so much fun, talking to people about video games.
Yeah.
And that feeling.
Do you think
so good?
They should bring back the cartoon checks?
Yes. It's only cool. It would only be cool for people like the first time because it's very much novelty. But that was like a moment. I was like, I'm so good at something. We're literally first place. We got gold medals and giant cartoon checks.
They should do that.
Back then, when we won that, I think after splitting it, it was like $2,000 each or something total for like winning the first international event where they actually, flew over teams from like, Southeast Asia, China, Europe, I think, were the top 4.
I feel like they should do that for Academy Worlds or something. Like, just make it comical and lead into the
giant big check,
the ridiculousness of it. Okay, so then you get kicked for Saint Vicious. You've become friends with Saint Vicious, even though he was a man.
Super
who
good friends
replaced
because
you.
we were already like a lot of the people at the top of the ladder were already friends to some degree. So I was already pretty good friends with him, and I hung out with him a bunch later after when I was trying to get back into the league scene, and I just started casting on the weekends because I was working a full-time job, engineering job. But on the weekends, because I hated it so much, I wanted to get back into leagues somehow. And so I just started casting the tournaments online. And Reggie had these TSM tournaments.
You and Wombat?
Wombat was my main partner.
Yeah.
Hilarious fellow.
Yes.
Shout outs to Wombat.
We
had some
casting style.
banger jokes that would definitely not play.
Yeah.
Almost didn't even play back then.
They were borderline.
Almost didn't even play like 10 years ago, and would definitely not play now.
They were definitely borderline. But a very different time.
Yeah, but so that's what I would do. I was working full time, but then I would spend all of my weekends casting league or going to league events still.
Yeah.
Like IPLs and stuff like that at the time, and so I would hang out with with the CLG people and with Saint and with everybody, Reggie, Dan, and especially Curse, who ended up owning Curse when Saint also switched to that team. We just had so many, crazy
adventures
going out. Yeah, exactly, adventures.
It's just wild to think about a lot of the stuff that went on back then.
What I wanted to dig up, because one of the parties, and they streamed several of these parties. We know where people are getting.
You had to sign releases. It used to be you had to sign releases when you went into the Curse Mansion, which was really just. Like
I think that happened. That was only like halfway through. We had definitely had a lot of parties before then.
Yeah, I will always remember. I remember you talking about going to these events when you could on the weekends, and I will never forget. It was like maybe 6 months before LCS became a thing in 2013. Going to, I think it was MLG Dallas, and there was an after party where it was me and you and Dan, and you were so depressed because you were just like, I wish I was still in this, because you were like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Where like the rest of us were like starting to move towards this becoming like a full-time thing, like creating content, streaming, competing in all these different tournaments. Like there were like IPL matches that happened on weeknights, and people were doing all that, and you were just so depressed talking to us, talking about how you had this like a well-paying engineering job whenever none of us were making jack shit. I was like, before there were like Twitch subs and all that stuff, and even Patreon, I was asking people to like PayPal donate during episodes of State of the League. And you're just living the rich life and as an engineer in San Francisco. And
yet I was so complaining.
But you were so depressed, and you were just like, I want to be back in this. Like you're like, I miss this so much. This is so cool. I wish I was doing this. And then LCS rolled around, and Riot's historically fantastic way of taking care of talent. They offered you a situation, which was not very stable, right? And you quit a job for this.
Oh yeah, I mean, when LCS was about to be created, I heard about it. I forget how I heard about it.
Everyone was kind of like talking about it.
Yeah, but I tried to like message everybody I knew at Riot. Having met a bunch of people, and eventually someone reached out to me.
Yeah, talent manager.
Reached out to me, and because I was one of the only people that have League of Legends casting experience at that time.
Yeah. It's like
because
you,
of the
Riv, Freak.
The TSM tournaments.
Yeah.
And I got those because I was, at the time, one of the only ex-pros. Everybody else was still on teams because the scene was so young. At that time, I was, one of the few ex-pros. And since CLG had been, one of the best, if up until that point, the best team.
There's some TSM fans that'll get angry with you saying that, but
I had a very good, when the LCS started, TSM had dominated for a long time, but...
one of the two.
My switch to casting at that time, CLG was the best.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yes. Okay, good.
So I was just ecstatic to even get this, offer of a 6-month contract.
Was it 6 months?
Yeah, it was 6 months.
But it was a contract, and and there was no guaranteed security after that.
6 months contract to move down to LA, quit your job, and try, just all in on video games. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a big risk, and my dad was pissed. Because my dad the whole time was so happy I was, doing engineering in the first place. But he was super, super pissed. And the only reason I got to do it is because my mom also knew how depressed I was working at both of the different engineering jobs that I had. And so she was like, yeah, you just take the chance. You're young anyways. Like, yeah, you'll be able to get another engineering job. If it all fails,
you can always go back.
Just go ahead and try it. And so, I'm so thankful to my mom for that.
Do you rub it in your dad's face? Are you like, hey, Dad?
He came around after I think maybe the second year or something.
Yeah.
After the 6 months contracts got thumbs up. LCS had enough success at least as far as like advertising the game for them that they were like, all right, we're gonna do this and then it started to be like year-long contracts and stuff. Then he started to come around because he just wanted me to be able to take care of myself, right?
Yes.
From growing up, it was kind of rocky. It was kind of hard at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so he was like, you didn't do all this work just to go backwards. And video games and League, like you're referring to, you guys were making no money at the beginning.
Right.
It was so much riskier.
Yeah.
Like people now it's completely different. There's so many more sponsors and money that has come in, but it was super big risk back then.
Yeah, no, it's been cool to see.
Oh yeah, thanks Grubhub.
Speaking of sponsors, so you make it to the LCS. You're casting. One of the things that I like, you've cast. Have you cast more World Finals than anybody else at this point?
I think so.
I think so too. There was a point in time. I think this last one was the first time where you didn't cast it, or maybe it's the 2021. But you had done like a huge streak of them.
One.
Yeah. Oh, the last one? Okay. You'd cast like a huge streak of them. You cast so many of them. And people love you as a caster. I know for a long time people had sort of used that phrase like, oh, this is like somebody who you're sitting down on the couch with and you're watching the games or whatever. Mm-hmm. Did you spend a lot of time trying to like actively think about how you want to cast and what you want the mentality to be for people that are watching your casts and all that?
I did, especially at the beginning, because there were no like guidelines or anything for how to cast League of Legends. When I first started, I was just a fresh ex-pro off of COG, casting the online tournaments, not even the LCS yet.
Yeah.
And so I just took it as like making fun of and talking about the different things of these other pro players because those are the people I see every day in solo queue and stuff like that. And so I was just trying to it was mostly joke focused.
Yeah.
Like that's when you're talking about Wombat. We would mostly just make a lot of jokes, point out the majority of stuff that's going on, but not really. Because we're like, you can see what's going on screen.
Yes.
And it was mostly like trying to make people laugh. And then it progressed, joining Riot. When we first joined as casters, they wanted to establish, what good casting looks like. And so we did all kinds of things like Shakespeare practice. We did this crazy like prompter reading game where you have someone telling you a story next to you and you have to read a prompter while they're telling you the story. And then afterwards, you have to repeat everything that they said in their story, which is supposed to help you listen to your co-caster while you're focusing on what's happening in the game and saying your point.
Yeah.
Because there's so many points where you'll hear a caster pairing and like one will say something and then the other one will like say the same thing or reword, that type of stuff. So there were things like that where we worked on. There were vocal training things that we worked on. There was improv classes that we took. That was one of the most fun things. And also just a lot of talking to other casters and figuring out, what are some good things that we want to bring structure to casting. But I always retained if I'm listening to someone cast a game, what I care about a lot is making it fun, you know? There were a lot of casters that like really prided themselves on educating people. I like the education part, and pointing out like, ooh, cool tips and tricks or, something maybe you didn't know. But I didn't want to be preachy. I always and never wanted to be this like preachy or sound know-it-all because whenever I listen, I always watch basketball and football. And whenever I watch, NBA and NFL, And those guys have been, casting for so long. Some of them, like a lot of the stuff is just, I would just be cracking up on the couch, with my dad, with my brother, with my mom, talking about how ridiculous the things they're saying, because they're so obvious, or they're so like really trying to like preach something so basic to you that I was like, come on, And so I didn't want to have moments like that. And so I was like, kind of wanted to, that's where the, you're referencing the Reddit thread that was like, oh, it's like watching the game with a friend on the couch. I was like, that is the angle that I'll go for. And it's good to have a bunch of different casters with different styles that go for different angles.
Yeah.
To have variety.
One of the things that I know from living with you, which I have always really admired, and I will admit it now because I'm doing content and it's worth admitting it in a way that I never when we lived together.
But his fingers are crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Is how much you care about your cast. Because there have been times where there'll be one phrase that you said that was wrong, or you just miscalled one thing. No one else in the world will notice it. It will not be in any of the Reddit threads. No tweets go off. And you come home and you're in a bad mood because you know in your mind that you did that, and it just like weighs on you. And it's like very fascinating to me because it's like very like you care so much about your craft that you don't want to have something like that happen. But it's also a
kind
situation, little neurotic, but also like very, very impressive because people, I think, and this is true, you're a fun dude that like hangs out, you're having a good time. I think a lot of people would not expect you to take stuff like that and have it be so intense.
And be like depressed at home.
Yeah. So I'm
because you see me at home,
Yeah.
I do get depressed sometimes.
Yes.
And especially, you're talking about making mistakes. It's really hard, especially with how public facing it is, to be able to brush off mistakes that you make. Because when you make them, hundreds of thousands of people watch them live, and sometimes they don't notice them or tweet or anything. But the social media aspect of it is always something I've not really liked. Casting, the constant like huge like glare of social media that's just always there, has definitely been something that was really hard to deal with, because I was also never someone that even thought I would be in something close to a public facing entertainment style job.
Yeah.
The reason I became an engineer in the first place because I was always math and science. I didn't even really like, English or history class or anything like that. I was never the one that would like come present the project up to the rest of the class because I didn't want to get up in front of people. And so, I've always had those problems of trying to deal with a mistake, or I'm not very good at letting things go, which is something I've worked on a lot, especially during COVID. I started like meditation practice, and, all these different like morning routines and things to try and help with that. But at the end of the day, it's really hard, especially at nighttime. I keep thinking about it. Sometimes, your stomach will hurt. You won't be able to sleep for nights. It takes a long time to be able to deal with social pressures like that.
Is that what it is? Is it your concern that somebody will see it and like send you tweets that are like, you suck as a caster? Or is it like you feeling bad about your own mistake and wanting to make sure that it's like a perfect cast? Like,
I'd say it's a combination of those things. And I know there's also been a decent amount of studies, about, mental, health since this explosion of social media and those effects. And it's kind of magnified when your job is a public facing person. And so your success depends on people liking you. When people are like, oh yeah, just brush it off, it's fine, you don't have to care what those people think. If then you turn around and you're like, oh, but actually it does because that's my job.
Yeah.
That makes it way more difficult to come up with other coping mechanisms. And so I think that's a common thing, I think, with even just individual streamers, and now that there's this whole kind of explosion of this type of job, it's kind of an interesting thing. And people have developed their own individual ways of dealing with it or support systems and stuff like that.
What do you think when you see the comments where
my support system is Travis telling me,
God.
"Don't worry about it." Don't. No.
Well, I was gonna say something along those lines, which is like, what do you think of those comments that you'll see where people will be like, "Oh, dude, they're just like a random. Don't worry about it," or whatever. Like, I think it is always fascinating to me because there's a lot of people who can't conceptualize what it is like to get so much like hate all at once from a bunch of like anonymous people online. You know what I mean?
And I think that even especially young people when they're getting that or receiving that, it's hard to actually conceptualize what is happening to you at that time.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. It's been a journey. It's an ongoing journey still.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of stronger tools. I feel like now to deal with stuff like that. I've definitely gotten a little bit better at moving on from things, as maybe you can attest to.
I think so.
Because you've known me for such a long time, and you have had a long history of trying to tell me, stop worrying about this or that.
Yeah. Well, on to nicer and more fun things. I wanted to talk a little bit about what you are doing now, because you have started to branch out in a way that I haven't seen from you in the past, because you've always toyed a little bit with doing like some content creation on the side or doing some stuff in addition to casting.
Mm-hmm.
But lately, I've been trying to do Hotline League on Monday nights, and on the other side of the wall, I just hear, "Oh, and they're going in! Oh my God! Oh, this is happening! Blah 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 blah." Which it's a little distracting during Hotline League. But more importantly, I'm happy for you because I feel like this has been a fun thing for you as you've started to stream a lot. Because you've done it before where you'll stream a little bit, and then you like get back into it.
Yeah.
And so, what's going on with you in that direction?
Yes, I mean, starting streaming Champions Queue.
Yeah.
It's been really fun, both connecting and talking with fans so much more, because you get more of a like personal interface while you're streaming. And Champions Queue, I just think is the best tool, the best thing that the LCS has done for North American League of Legends, for competitive League of Legends in many years. And so I desperately did not want it to fail, and I wanted to do as much as I could to promote it and get it out there, and try and get all the players to stream their perspectives, and try and get people invested again in the individual personalities and all the players now, because we've had such a long time of the turnover of the original kind of LCS like statues, basically, of old greats that have mostly retired. And so I just wanted to put every bit of like extra time I have into helping and build that up, because I feel like that is the best way for the future. Because Champions Queue, it helps both funnel the next generation of pro players, build up for the future of the LCS that way, but also helps current ones brand themselves and get their streaming out there. And the comms are always active, so you can get a feel for people's personalities and how funny they are and all these different things. So that's been super fun just individually. So I talk to chat and connect with people, but also I think it's just so good for the region, and something that we have tried to deal with and desperately needed for a long time, some sort of solution, because everybody brings up every year, oh my God, what can North America do this year? There have been so many years where we've fallen short. We've got these ping issues. We've got everybody spread out over such a long time, and it's a step in the right direction. So hopefully,
I see. You took this in a completely different direction. I thought I did not realize how much of an altruistic decision this was for you to stream Champions Queue, because I thought this might be something more that you're trying to do where you're like, I want to build up my like streaming stuff, I want to do outside content stuff, because like Captain Flowers has done a pretty good job of that, I think, doing all the streaming stuff. And so I don't know if this is like your launch pad for that, where we're going to start to see you do even more streaming besides Champions Queue.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I come up with other stuff to do.
Yeah. What is it?
It is fun. It's also kind of exhausting and tiring. Like most people, I have basically like a social currency that I build up. I can be really outgoing
yes,
for an amount of time, but when it gets drained, then you know I'm very much a hermit.
Yes. No, for those that don't, this is a good thing to talk about because people, I think, see you on the broadcast and they can't, they're like, what? People come up to me and they're like, what's it like living with Kobe? And I'm like,
Isn't he crazy all the time?
Yeah. But in reality, there's so many times where you're like, you expend all this energy on the broadcast and then you come home and you're just like, hey, I'm like, how is today? You're like, fine. And then you just go in the room and then I just hear League of Legends noises.
That's what makes the prospect of like consistent streaming pretty difficult for me because I already expend a lot for, the LCS
broadcast,
and stuff like that. But I really do like it, on some of the off days.
Yeah.
And so, it's definitely good to like build up your own community, basically.
How do you think Flowers does it? Because he just has maybe limitless tanks of this. Which is insane. He'll show up in my
Flowers
Twitch chat.
Built diff.
He'll show up in my chat and he'll just be in all capital letters. He's still screaming even whenever he's not.
Even him too. He'll have to take. He takes periods where he rests and stuff, but he's a machine.
Yeah, no, it's cool. All right. Well, I think the batteries are probably going to start dying on these cameras soon, so maybe we should wind down. And I think we're pretty much done with the food, right?
Delicious.
What's the verdict?
It's
You've
delicious.
had this before, but
when you first took me to the place, I was because I judge all Thai places by their Penang curry because like every place will have it, and I really like the Thai spices, and this place very good. Yeah, 2 thumbs up.
Thank you, Grubhub, for delivering this food. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I know we were trying to figure this out with your busy schedule. Mm-hmm. We were able to make it happen. I think you just knew that I would be passive aggressive if you didn't do this, and so you've made it happen. Anything that you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Thanks for supporting Travis and me.
Because we need to pay rent together, and that's like
rent. It just got raised again.
Yes,
and we're about to head into a recession.
And on that note, thanks so much, Grubhub, for sponsoring the show. Thank you, Kobe, for being here, and please subscribe to the channel. Check out their links in the description. Again, thank you so much to Kobe for joining me for this episode. I forgot that Grubhub gave me this wonderful gift card to give him, and now the show's over, so I have to go give it to him in person. So here's footage that I've recorded of me just handing it to him in his bedroom because we live together. But again, thank you to Grubhub for hooking Kobe up. I want to thank Grubhub so much for sponsoring this show. It's been fantastic to be able to bring back long-form interviews with Grubhub as a partner. And I'd love if you could check out Grubhub. They have a link in the description of this video. And be sure to check out the Grubhub Guarantee, where if your food is late or there's something wrong with it, they will make it right. Again, thank you so much to Grubhub for sponsoring this show.